Were you starting to think that you weren't going to get a video today? I finished up Song of Songs and read a massive section of Isaiah. But what I want to do today is I'm going to hold off on Isaiah for the most part. I'm going to do a big, huge video about the major prophets. It's going to come out on Monday and talk about those. Because remember, I take the weekends off from videos. But Song of Songs and reading it and then immediately going into reading Isaiah really had me thinking this morning. I actually preached a series through Song of Songs last year. I'm going to leave a link to that series somewhere up there. But I want to talk about Song of Songs because it's one of those books that we just really don't know what to do. This is one of the things I think that happens a lot of times with Song of Songs is really any weird book of the Bible. So let's take Revelation, Song of Songs, some of the minor, all that kind of stuff, is that we think that this book is completely isolated away from the rest of Scripture. We come up with some really janky interpretive pathways to try to explain them instead of realizing that our book just doesn't exist by itself, but it's completely conformed from Scripture to Scripture, especially in the Old Testament with Song of Songs, all the way from Genesis to Malachi, the full idea of the whole of the Old Testament. And then I'll tell you what, the early church absolutely loved Song of Songs and talked about it all the time, but now it's isolated, it's weird, we don't know what to do with it. And so when I preached this series, I talked about there's three things that we do with Song of Songs. That number one, and I think this is the cheapest and this is the easiest way to not deal with doing like the heavy exegetical lifting of the book, is to just treat it like Christian marriage help. The second thing is we'll just talk about it like being ancient love poetry, which it is ancient love poetry completely. But we don't read that much poetry in our world now, and we don't read that much ancient Hebrew in our world right now. So what would make us think that reading ancient Hebrew love poetry would be an easy thing to do? But really what Songs talks about is holy sexuality and this line of where that conversation of sexuality stretches from Genesis to Revelation inside of the whole just canon of Scripture and the practice of the church. I'm telling you, I don't do this that much. I don't think I've done it yet on this whole family of videos, but if you're curious about the song, go to that sermon series and you can either watch it up there, or I will put a link down below to where you can listen to it and find it on Spotify and just listen to it on the podcast as I talk about this and share a massive amount of quotes and thoughts from the early church about the song. But either way, so that's all the stuff with song, but this is the thing that I kept thinking about, because so much of the conversation of sexuality and the metaphor of sexuality and the just the theme of when sexuality shows up in Scripture, it really and truly is a conversation about singularity, about what does it mean to be wholly and completely devoted to someone. And you see this thread pick up in the song, especially in the very beginning of the book and the very end of the book when we're introduced to this woman, and at the very end of the book where she pretty much says, hey, regardless of whatever you did, I am now someone to be honored. So that thread's there. But jumping out of song and immediately going into Isaiah, that singularity theme was absolutely just screaming out to me to realize what that was. And it was really informing my reading of Isaiah. But like I said, just doing Song of Songs today, 30-day shredding it up. You read the whole New Testament in 7 days in this plan? That's kind of weird to me, but that's coming up in a few days. But a couple things. Number one, remember, take the weekend off. We're going to do a big, huge, massive Major Prophets video on Monday. The second thing is this. If you like this sort of content, or you just want to keep up with my wild mind, I do a weekly email that's 7 links about religion, about pop and social theory, about music, this kind of thing. It's just the weird meanderings of my mind. I would love to send that to you, and the link to subscribe to that email is in the description below. But until then, I'm Chad. I'm a pastor in Louisiana. I'm reading the Bible in 30 days. This is the 30-day shred. And I don't know about you, but the gun show is kind of starting to show up, Shred Masters. I'll see you on Monday.